Hello everyone again, this is Dr. John Bray-Morris and this is the video series Shooting Up in the Dark. This next video is entitled How Can I Stop Using and Get Clean? And it's intended to follow the most recent video I recorded, which is how do I know if I'm a drug addict, or how do I know if I'm addicted? So if you believe you are addicted to opioids, you probably are, but you don't need to keep it a secret or deal with it alone. In fact, doing so will probably do nothing except keep you in addiction. I understand exactly what it is and what it feels like to be addicted to opioids, wishing you could stop and at the same time not being able to stop. It feels terrifying. Addiction is a prison, a cruel and baffling condition. In fact, when I was finally desperate enough to seek help for my opioid addiction, despite the fact that I was a physician, I had no idea what to do, where to find help, and felt utterly alone in my situation. For years earlier, I had considered myself unique, not really addicted the way other people are. I lied to myself frequently. I told myself that I could stop taking my pills if I really needed to, but that idea scared the shit out of me. I began to see in my more lucid moments the wreckage and suffering I created for myself and my family. This made me want to quit desperately, but even when I earnestly tried to stop, I couldn't. I remember checking into monasteries, intending to just stay there until the withdrawal was over, but I never could get past about 24 hours. Back then, I didn't understand how almost humanly impossible it was to quit, especially once my habit required huge amounts of opioids daily. I knew somewhere deep down that I must quit, but I had no idea how that was going to happen. And I later learned that opioid withdrawal is like torture, and there's only so much a person can endure by themselves before they use again. So if I needed help, I realized I would have to share my problem with others, find the most feasible program of recovery available or that I can afford, and trust others to help me. And I am fortunate that I was able to get help. If you are addicted, especially addicted to a substance which causes physical dependence, and alcohol, benzodiazepines, and opioids all do, quitting entails go through withdrawal, physical withdrawal, with the support of others. Remember, you have plenty of company, millions of amazing people who stopped using and are in long-term recovery now. Withdrawal is not only impossible to go through alone, but it can also be dangerous, cause life-threatening complications, even in young people. There's several cases of those who've died of opioid withdrawal in jail. Never try to kick it all by yourself. Help does exist, even if it is hard to find at first, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to find it. Know that addiction is a relentless and progressive condition. There are only 3, possibly 4 destinations for those who keep using: jails, institutions, and death. Eventually, one of these 3 consequences happens. There are no exceptions. There's no special people who are immune to addiction. Being a physician, having some status, being a family man did not protect me, nor did the fact that I had never been a drug user or drank alcohol much before. I thought I was different, but of course I wasn't. Addiction affects everyone with the same ruthlessness, regardless of who they are, or where they come from, what they have or don't have, what they may have accomplished, how old they are, and regardless of never having abused drugs earlier in life. I said, however, that there is a 4th possible outcome. It is free to anyone who wants it, and that is recovery. Before I was in recovery myself, when someone mentioned being sober or being in recovery or the 12 steps, it sounded to me like a lofty, quasi-spiritual place or space to which I couldn't relate. As I said, I knew almost nothing about the realities of addiction or recovery during most of my 20-year medical career. Now, with several years of recovery, having worked to reprogram with diligence, I'm in a position where I can help others. I see clearly from several perspectives. It does still greatly concern me to realize how poorly addiction is understood in society, especially in healthcare. These videos and my upcoming book, Shooting Up in the Dark, were conceived mainly to help people understand these issues better. If you are able to admit that you are addicted and need help, that is the first step. Admitting to being in addiction and unable to get out by yourself is progress, because at first Many people will not or cannot admit to having a problem or needing any help. Once you know the reality of the situation, you can take further steps towards freedom. Sometimes it takes a mountain of painful consequences to come to that place of humility and say, I'm John, I'm an addict. But there is a real sense of relief in being honest and letting go of the secrecy. You too will feel less burdened. You can stop the lying, cheating, stealing, whatever else you've done. And fully admitting you are a person with addiction and unable to get out of this yourself or use drugs successfully, then you must gain clearly that you want recovery for yourself. Trying to get clean for other people usually doesn't work, given how strong the pull of temptation is. But when you really want it for yourself more than anything else, your chances of success are better. For opioids, it is the acute withdrawal lasting 4 to 6 days, which seems like an impossible goal. If you take the advice and assistance of others, however, you can do it. Millions of people have done it. From all walks of life, they've gotten clean and sober from addiction, even when it looked like they were hopeless. Each person's situation is different when it comes to detoxing, depending on available facilities, open beds, payment and insurance, exact drug or drugs being used. If you have a supportive family member or friend, they should help you to find the resources in your area. Another rich source of information is from recovery group meetings. Usually there are several individuals you can find at a meeting who have worked a recovery program, have many years clean, and sponsored individuals before. They can help guide you to the best options for treatment. I recommend, if possible, a detox and rehab program. There are thousands throughout the U.S., and many of them do take Medicaid or have an indigent program for those who can't pay. Contact treatment programs in your area and ask for an evaluation for addiction. The professionals there will make recommendation about exactly what to do next. From my experience, it's better to go through detox in a withdrawal facility or withdrawal in a facility in a professional environment. Getting clean has to be your first priority. It can't be a plan that you do after some other things, or you can't delay. I've heard a lot of people say that, and subsequently they died or were arrested or some other tragedy happened. You will need a local community of people who understand your problem, both your current dilemma of being stuck in addiction and what you will need not only to get clean, but to continue being clean in the days, months, and years after. I cannot promote or advertise any particular program because it is contrary to their traditions, but I can say that one of the, quote, anonymous or 12-step programs saved my life. They are everywhere, even in small cities and towns. There's usually at least one meeting a day. It's easy to look them up on the internet. Also, here you can obtain direction, find mentors, be loved and supported, and most of all, be understood. Everyone in recovery has a story of addiction and getting clean and knows how painful your life is right now. I strongly recommend getting a meeting schedule, attending, and introducing yourself as a newcomer. The support and companionship of other recovering addicts, including those with decades of recovery, is really invaluable. So we need to, quote, surrender our own will and way, which got us into addiction in the first place. That opens the door for a new way of life. Paradoxically, we, quote, surrender to win. In letting go of control and following the examples of other brothers and sisters in recovery, we open the doors to new resources, to the possibility of a new way of life. We win in the sense that we regain our essence and our power. We can make choices instead of allowing addiction to run our life. Most of us, when at a bottom, despise ourselves, even condemn and punish ourselves. We feel worthless, but you are worth getting clean, and you wouldn't be watching this unless a part of you knew this. As one of my mentors says, we didn't use dangerous amounts of toxic chemicals because we were happy. Recovery is not simply stopping drug use. It takes us on a journey of self-discovery, including a hard look at the pain and suffering we've endured and healing from it. We learn to forgive and love ourselves. Everyone experiences suffering in this life. We used drugs because they were a solution for our pain and suffering temporarily. But that never lasts, and you probably are realizing this. The addiction slowly just takes everything good away from us when we're in its grip. It can happen slowly or rapidly, but the path of addiction is always one of loss and despair. It ultimately destroys us. Don't delay starting the process of becoming clean. The best way to tell other people in your life is to just be honest. Quote, I have a drug problem and I'm going to get help. Or if you have to be more discreet, quote, I'm concerned for my health and I'm going to get an evaluation. Thinking that there are other things more important for which you must delay, like celebrating your kid's birthday, earning extra money, finishing a course of study, that is the addiction talking. It will always tell you that now is not a good time. Now is the right time. I hope this is helpful. These topics are broad and complicated, but I'm trying to keep them short and focused. I encourage you to keep browsing the channel because there are several others relevant to addiction and getting clean. Until next time, be good to yourself.